Immigration reform passes a key hurdle in the U.S. Senate. This is Next Generation Beat, and I'm John Phillips. In a bipartisan 67-27 vote, there were a few missing because they were stuck on airplanes. Thanks for that, U.S. Air. The U.S. Senate signaled their support for strengthening border security in the comprehensive Gang of Ocho immigration bill, which we, of course, all know is amnesty by another name. And in politics, words matter. She's not fat, she has a good personality. It's the same group of Republicans who were pushing it the last time, sans Idaho Senator Larry Craig, who is actually the perfect face for open borders. A man who can't respect the borders of a bathroom stall at a Minneapolis airport men's room certainly can't be expected to respect the borders of the country. This time, Arizona Senator John McCain and South Carolina Senator Lindsey Graham were joined by the new kid on the block, Tea Party favorite Marco Rubio, who's turned into the go-to guy for all things amnesty. And they're doing exactly what the framers intended the Senate to do, representing the interests of the elites. Yes, this is legislation the elites have wanted for years. Democratic political bosses see new Democratic voters as far as the eye can see, and the Chamber of Commerce desperately wants to pull these immigrants out of the shadows so they can put them right back into the sun picking strawberries. In fact, let's go ahead and take a look at their latest TV ad.
What we have today is chaos. We have de facto amnesty.
We have to invite people to come out of the shadows.
Let's secure our borders, welcome our new neighbors, and practice the values of freedom and family.
We all wish we didn't have this problem, but leaving it the way it is, it's amnesty. We have to solve this problem.
Call Congress, end de facto amnesty, create jobs and economic growth by supporting conservative immigration reforms.
You probably saw it on Fox in between ads for Cialis and Boniva. The Senate, I'm sorry to say, is a done deal. Amnesty is going to pass. But the fate of this bill is far less certain in the House of Representatives, a body controlled by Republicans whose members come up for re-election every 2 years. House Speaker John Boehner says he's not even going to bring the immigration reform bill up for a vote unless a majority of Republicans support it. One Republican, California Congressman Dana Rohrabacher, says if Speaker Boehner goes back on his word, Speaker Boehner will become ex-Speaker Boehner. Will John Boehner keep his word? Here to answer that question is Tammy Bruce, host of the Tammy Bruce Radio Show, available online at tammybruce.com. Sitting next to her is Leo Terrell, the fair-minded civil rights defense attorney, who you can listen to on Talk Radio 790 KABC in L.A., and from his home studio in the great state of PA, Mr. Scott Ott. So we'll start with you, Tammy. You've been talking about immigration reform since your early days on the radio at KFI in Los Angeles. And I consider the battle to be over in the Senate. The Senate is going to pass this thing. The Senate has wanted this for some time. The powers that be have given it its blessing. In the House of Representatives, I could see it going either way. When you look into your crystal ball, what do you see the House of Representatives doing with this?
Well, I don't trust Boehner. I think that what he's doing, this is what Americans need to look for, is that while he may not take up the Senate bill, because that wouldn't have a majority, the Senate, the House will, in fact, perhaps do a smaller bill or something about E-Verify or something about border security, anything that would allow it to get into conference as their bill. And then that would be killed in conference. And the Senate bill, the House, you have to realize, doesn't have to take up exactly what the Senate passes. They could do their own, and their own bill might just be about the border and about E-Verify. What Americans need to do is call their representatives and say that there should be no bill, because the only thing that will come out of conference is the Senate version. So, look, we have been talking about this forever because they've been doing this forever. We have multiple bills about securing the border. They've never been implemented. And now, of course, their cynicism is showing through with a commercial that tries to say that the way that it is right now is amnesty.
What's John Boehner going to do?
Well, John Boehner, if he follows the Hastert rule, which says that unless there's a majority of his party supporting the bill, it won't come up. And that's why Rohrabacher said that he will become an ex-speaker. But the bottom line is simply this. If the House doesn't take up the bill, then forget about the 2016 national election, because it's going to be another election about immigration. And I guarantee you the Democrats will score points on this. So this is strictly political. I don't know what Boehner is going to do on that issue, but it depends. It will, if he doesn't take any action, the 2016 election would be disastrous for the Republicans.
Well, let me give you the flip side of that coin, and I'll compare the California GOP to the national GOP. The demographics of the state of California have changed dramatically from where they were. The last time a Republican at the top of the ticket won the state of California for president was George H.W. Bush back in 1988. He beat Michael Dukakis here, and he beat him handily. If you adjust the demographics of California, 1988, that election, you put it in 2014, Michael Dukakis wins that election in California.
Sure. Sure.
That becomes the national GOP. The national GOP becomes the California GOP over time.
And you said it correctly. The bottom line is if the Republicans want to stand firm and not approach this bill, they will be a minority party on national elections. The Tea Party members in the House.
But if you pass it, though, there's 33 million new people that turn the country into California.
But here's the bottom line. The question is, and you look at a guy like Marco Rubio, he is the up-and-coming, promising
Not
star.
Anymore.
Well, I give him credit.
Anymore.
I like to see Marco Rubio is running for president.
Liberals
guarantee,
giving Marco Rubio credit. That's
hey, listen, I'm a liberal in some situations, but I am a guy who will look at a Marco Rubio or a Republican candidate who is going to be socially open on issues, but conservative on economic issues.
Here's who the Republicans need to start to be concerned about, are other Republicans. You know, they need to be concerned about those 4 million people who stayed home last year. And this means about a larger context about forget about voting and about elections, what's best for this country economically.
It's all about elections.
Let me get Scott on in here. Scott, the last time we talked about amnesty was in the 1980s when we passed the Simpson-Mazzoli amnesty bill. And in that bill, they promised Ronald Reagan and they promised the American people that we would secure the border along with giving an amnesty to the people who are here illegally. The securing the border part never happened. Why are we even talking about an amnesty before we get working control over the border?
Well, I think this is the fundamental problem with the overall approach to discussing an immigration bill. It's like a Affordable Care Act or a farm bill. It allows the Democrats to frame an issue, or in this case, we've got this gang of 8 people who are trying to frame this issue. Either you're for immigration or you're against immigration. Either you're for those nice people from Mexico or you're against those people from Mexico. Instead of being able to take this thing in its constituent parts, perhaps, and say, okay, what would really be necessary here to start getting a handle on this? Because when you do an omnibus bill like this, you move too many levers and knobs at the same time to be able to gauge what the actual consequence of that manipulation is. So if you take this a piece at the time, you can say, look, let's prototype this. Oh, that doesn't work. Maybe we should change the approach. But Congress loves these sweeping bills because there's no accountability and everybody gets a little something in the mix.
Yeah, that's it, Scott, you're right, but that's called governing, and they haven't done that in a million years. I mean, we expect Congress to do things that are right for America. They haven't done that for a while.
The end game for the Republicans and the House Republicans is take immigration off the platform, off the table for Democrats to use as an issue against them in 2016.
But if you do that, though, you give them 33 million new voters.
In the future, unless you can convince, listen, the Republicans can win me over right now. Forget the social issues. Focus on economics. I would be a Republican diehard if you stay on economics. Those social issues are the wedge issues, and those young people are going to be more favorable to the immigration issue.
33 million new Democratic voters in this country. All it takes is what, 300,000 new Democratic voters in a state like North Dakota before that state becomes a reliably Democrat state, or South Dakota, or all those other big states where nobody lives.
And that is the economic issue, because as you've said, then the entire nation will become a combination of California and Chicago. And we'll be in serious trouble.
Then let me ask you a question. Let's look at it from the flip side, the economic issue. Cheap labor, Chamber of Commerce, businesses, they love cheap labor. And that's going to be a benefit.
But it's not cheap labor, though, because what happens is who pays for their health care? Who pays for their kids' lunch at school?
Glad you asked that question. They're exempt. These potential potential citizens in the future are exempt from Obamacare. Guess what?
You think we're going to keep them exempt from Obamacare?
You know what the current amendment also includes? They don't get any of those immigrants who are now in this country using phony Social Security numbers. They don't get that money back at all. That's in the new bill.
Barbara Boxer already has floated an amendment out there that will take money away from border security and put it to social programs.
We're looking at the specificity about who's going to get money. We know that $46 million went to one single Atlanta address from the IRS for refunds to the ITIN number holders, which are the illegal aliens. All of these discussions, like what we would arrange around a table with agreements and disagreements, are irrelevant within the larger conversation of Congress. They're not thinking of these things. And by the way, there is an incentive to hire the illegal aliens because they aren't subject to the Obamacare sanctions. Americans are, which means you might have cheap labor, but then we're spending more money on unemployment for American citizens.
Scott, there's one thing here that's at play for me. I would be a complete open borders guy, 100%, don't even have an INS.
You're a libertarian. You totally would.
Well, if you got rid of the welfare state. If there's no welfare state and people come here and they have a pull yourself up by your bootstraps mentality, and you want to work and you want to build a business and you want to build your family and you want to take care of yourself and you want to contribute,
and become
that's
a citizen,
fine by me. And become a citizen and learn English, that's fine by me. But you can't have open borders and a welfare state, can you, Scott?
I think you make an excellent point. Obviously, that was Milton Friedman's argument. That's where everything breaks down in the free market context, because it's no longer a free market. You're essentially subsidizing that marketplace. I disagree with Tammy. I don't think that anybody who comes in this country must want to become a citizen, but I do think we need to make a distinction.
If they're going to work and build a business, they better.
And they're just traveling through here and they want to, do seasonal labor, and those who come and actually want to join with us and become a country.
We had a civil war against the slave class.
We no longer have the oceans as barriers like we used to. It's not when you leave Europe and you go to America and you're never going to see your grandparents again. We now have ease of travel. This has changed everything.
We have African-American young people, their unemployment rate now is higher than it was in the Great Depression. How dare we suggest of setting up effectively a low-paid slave class that's legal but not citizenship? When young people in this country are graduating from college, 50% cannot find a job. When it's close to, I think, 30% of African-American young men can't find work. And we're talking about freedom of travel. We fought a civil war over a slave class, and we should reject it again, because that's the ultimate racism here.
Can I flip one thing over?
Sure.
If we don't do anything, what do we have? We still have illegal aliens in this country.
You say not do anything.
Well, because I have not heard of a created bill.
I
have not heard of a created bill to get all these 11 million illegal aliens out of this country. So if you don't do something to validate your status here, what's the alternative?
The alternative is to eliminate the incentives. The alternative is to not send $46 million in refunds to illegal aliens. That's another issue. We don't even know where the people are now who are in this country.
Oh, we do. I mean,
and we're going to supposedly set up immigration.
They have more papers than you and I do.
Yeah. And more,
Well, it requires a lot of manpower, a lot of resources to find them.
All right, we'll have to leave it at that.
We knew where the Tsarnaev brothers were. We didn't do anything about that.
That's very true. They took $100,000 in benefits from the country.
There you go.
Tammy Bruce, Leo Terrell, Scott Ott from his home studio in the great state of Pennsylvania. And if you'd like to comment on today's show, you can do it right below me in the comment section or on Facebook at facebook.com/NextGenTV. For Next Generation Beat, I'm John Phillips. Thanks for watching.